All right, it's another edition of the RSL Show. I'm Alex, he's Josh, and we're here to break down the point on the road for Real Lake against the Los Angeles Football Club. But first, Josh, how you doing, man?
I feel a lot better than I did last time we talked, Alex. I'm still mad, but.
If you listened to the last show, no, you didn't. Everything that we said was wrong. And now
That's the hope.
yeah, in this case, yes. Now we're feeling a lot better because RSL went on the road and got a point at the top of the table against LAFC. Good performance overall, good response overall from Real Lake, I think, after that 3-0 loss to Portland.
They looked an entire different team, barring the absolute gaffe we saw. RSL bossed that match. They bossed it.
I think it really helped that this LAFC side, despite having depth, they haven't really rotated. They played an Open Cup match, pretty much played their strongest 11. Played on Saturday, played their strongest 11. Played another Wednesday game, strongest 11. Saturday, strongest 11. And then now against Real Lake, starting 11. There wasn't much rotation from LAFC, and I think that really helped Real Lake.
I'm not going to disagree because the game Ojeda and Palacio and Crooks had in that midfield, you would have thought we were playing, I don't know, San Jose, right? Like, there were periods, especially in that second half, where we were putting together 20, 30, dare I say 40 passes, right? Like, midfield was non-existent for LAFC in a big chunk of that game.
Before the game started, the starting 11 gets dropped. Obviously, a lot of rotation from Real Lake. Quinton starts alongside Vera. You got Hidalgo, Catranis out wide. You got McMath in the box, which, by the way, was a Wednesday game and McMath started, but we'll talk about it. There, Ojeda and Palacio in the midfield. Good break for Anelli, I think, who we've talked about looking gassed for a little bit now. Crooks, Chang, Luna, and Anderson Julio. Starting 11 for Real Lake. Can't make any arguments.
Yeah, it's a decent 11 for what's been going on, if you ask me.
That's the best available 11, in my opinion, in under the circumstances.
Yeah, some of it's not ideal, but again, you work with what you got, right?
Quinton starting at center back against LAFC
Scary.
gave me, that worried me.
He had a good showing, though. He looked a lot better than the the Atlanta game. I keep forgetting what game that was. He looked a lot better than he did in Atlanta. He looked a lot more comfortable.
I will say, we've been on the fence about Quinton, but I think last night both him and Bodie Hidalgo did a really good job on Denny Bawanga, who's probably one of the most lethal wingers in this league.
And had plenty of opportunity, but they did well to make those opportunities very difficult for Bawanga. So props to them. They had a good game. Made me feel a lot better. Do I want to see Philip Quinton starting every week? Absolutely not. But good showing from him. I still think I would prefer him to an Eric Holt at this point.
Not the best of starts for Real Lake, and that was thanks to an error, a mistake from Zach McMath. Ball played over the top. It was Christian Oliveira who was running on the end of it. Beat the defenders. McMath off his line, comes out, gets caught between waiting for it to roll into his box and kicking it away. Just kind of leaves it there for Christian Oliveira, who has an empty net to just play it in, and it's 1-0 LAFC within 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was bad, right? That's his third major mistake this year that's led to a goal, and there's been some others in there that you could probably argue, right, that number's higher. He's a good shot stopper, but anytime he has to come out or the ball's played back to him and there's pressure, blood pressure goes up, right? It is an area of weakness for RSL, and teams really can't exploit that. So I don't know what we do here. I don't know if Gavin's really much better with his feet at this point, but I think he's more athletic and gets to more of these balls. So, man, it really might be time for Zach to become the number 2. Three in a year is a lot, especially for a veteran and an overall solid veteran. So it's worrisome for me.
Do you remember at the beginning of the year when Pablo Mastroeni was talking about the goalkeeper rotation and he said that Wednesday games were going to be Gavin Beavers? Well, now there's been a couple of Wednesday games and we haven't seen Gavin.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that role is changing and it's going to flip flop.
That's the hope. I think at this point, like, we've said it here multiple times, man. I'm okay and I'm ready for Gavin to start. I'm ready for Gavin to be the number one for Real. So, like, obviously you can still keep a rotation, get Zach some minutes, but in the do or die moments, in the big games, I'm okay giving Gavin the number one at this point.
Yeah, and to be realistic, this was the same conversation when Ochoa was here.
Yes.
Right. And Ochoa won that starting job. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities, and I do think it'll happen. I don't think it'll be like we're announcing we have a new starting goalkeeper, right? It'll just be we start to see more and more and more of Gavin Beavers.
Yeah.
That'll kind of be our cue.
Yep. Again, I'm surprised we didn't see him against Houston. Surprised we didn't see him again on a Wednesday night, but Pablo went to McMath, and McMath made a mistake, which a goalkeeper that's been in this league for 14 years, I don't want to see him making that mistake.
Not
ever. Ever.
Nope. Your job is to get that ball out of there, right? He should have, if he saw that player running on, if I guess he thought he could get the ball and get a pass off, but man, just get to the ball and get it out. No one's going to be mad at if you just kick it out of bounds. It's annoying, but we're not going to be mad at you.
We're going to be less mad if you just boot it out of bounds than doing what you did.
Right, and that puts us in a giant hole, right? We're already in a hole with no Chicho, no Glad, no Gomez.
Yeah.
And now you're giving us a 1-goal handicap 4 or 5 minutes into the game. That was tough. And at that point, I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, right? It's going to be a night.
I remember back in the day, I want to say 8th grade, middle school.
So what, 2017?
When I was trying out my chops at goalkeeper, I remember I had a goalkeeping coach who told me that the number one rule and the number one thing as a goalkeeper is that once you commit, you commit.
Yep, 100%. There's no second guessing yourself because that's when the mistakes happen, right?
Yep.
If you're committing and, you might be committing a penalty, that's so be it. You've committed, right? If you try to pull out of it, you're going to commit the same penalty. So, yeah, a 14-year-old veteran should know better.
Yeah.
And Zach, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but...
Hey, no, Jay said the same thing, right? Jay Nolly on the broadcast, former goalkeeper for Real Salt Lake, DC United, and Vancouver Whitecaps. He said the same thing on the broadcast.
And we can thank him for getting us Nick Raimondo.
Yes. For those who don't know, he was involved in the trade that brought Raimondo to Real Salt Lake. But Jay Nolly mentioned on the broadcast that a veteran goalkeeper should know to just get out there and boot it away.
Yeah, there's no excuse. It's bad for a professional.
You can see the moment of hesitation from Zach McMath, and the second he hesitated, I knew Oliveira was going to beat him to the ball.
Yeah, and I think part of it is a symptom of Zach playing in a system that's asking him to do more he's not comfortable with, right? And that kind of is the problem. It's kind of like when we asked Quinton to play right back. Right? He's clearly not a right back, so it's not cohesive. And the non-cohesion between Zach and that style of play is what's causing these errors, in my opinion.
And I do want to give credit to Zach, because even after the mistake, man, he made some important saves.
Absolutely. That's why you can't roast him too hard, because he still does come up big. But, in hindsight, that would have been a 1-0 win for RSL. So it is tough to swallow. He almost did the same thing about 3 minutes later with a bad giveaway. And, so there was a potential for 2 back-to-back horrendous mistakes from the goalkeeper. So it was a tough 10, 15 minutes for him, but you're right. He did come out of it, made some huge saves, which gave us the point.
I can't remind me specifically. Did he get back in time to parry it, or was it just a shot that went over for that second mistake?
I believe he parried it. So it was going in.
I mean, look, I think that probably gave him the confidence to come back and make some of the saves that he did, later on in the game. Mm-hmm. Got to give him credit for that shot from Mateusz Bogusz. That Mateusz Bogusz has been on fire all season long. He will probably end up being one of the replacements for the All-Star game because he's been having that kind of season.
Mm-hmm.
He's the type of player that can literally shoot from anywhere on the pitch, and he's going to find the back of the net. He is clinical. He is good. And when he's in that moment, when he takes that shot, I said, oh boy.
Yeah. And he's wide open in the box, right? So in my heart, you're going there's a goal right there. Bummer. But Zach McMath came up huge in that moment. So props to him.
Nice bounce back from Zach McMath. Couple minutes after that Bogu shot, it's Alex Catranis who finds himself in the attacking third, finds some space, is brought down for the foul. Luna and Vera are standing over the ball to take. For a second there, looked like maybe Luna was just going to try to float one in. But then Brian Vera decides, you know what? This is my shot. Just absolutely rockets one straight at Ilya Sanchez. Sanchez gets the I don't want to say the tiniest of deflections, but deflects it to get it past Hugo Lloris, sneaks next to the post, and all of a sudden it's 1-1 off a golazo from Brian Vera.
Absolute beauty, right? He did the right thing. He's never going to place that ball, really. So he just hit it as hard as he could, and we've talked about this before. When you put it in the dangerous spots, those deflections happen, and you get your goal. So love to see it from him. And man, the power he can hit that ball with is disgusting.
He's got a cannon.
Absolute cannon.
He was talking about it during the post-game presser where he thought about floating it into either Quinton or Crooks, try to get someone with height in the box. But then he saw that LAFC had only put one person on the wall. And so he decided, you know what, I'm going to make him pay. And he ended up putting it in the back of the net.
Sure enough, yeah. And, it's kind of cool to score against Hugo Lloris. So
yeah,
super pumped for Vera. And can I tell you how refreshing it is to have defenders that are actual goal-scoring threats? It is so important, right? Even attacking threats you had Catranis with the run to draw the initial foul and then Vera putting away. So that's a defensive goal, really. It's beautiful. It's so important for this team.
One of the biggest question marks coming into this game, obviously, was who was going to get the goals, who was going to score the goals. And in the moment when we needed a goal, the defenders stepped up.
Yes, sir. And
fantastic.
It's beautiful, right? Again, this was like very much a team performance, which is what it has been all year. Sans kind of the weird, results. Man, I'm all for it. When we play like a team like we did, we're unstoppable.
Pablo said the same thing in the post-game presser. He attributed the Portland loss to a lot of players trying to play to the individual, not playing as a team. And he said the performance against LAFC was just the complete opposite, where you saw a team come together and play as a team. And when they play as a team, you get performances like Brian Ojeda did last night. And we got to talk about Brian Ojeda, man.
Dude, the fact that he did not go to Copa America, I think we've talked about this before, but it's just as criminal as Luna not going to the Olympics. This man, I would not be surprised if someone comes and sniffs him out and takes him back overseas. Nottingham Forest fans are probably seeing him now and wondering, why do we let him go? He is incredible. That guy is an absolute baller. And I think maybe my favorite player on the team right now, right? He does all the dirty work. He is the engine for RSL. He sets the pace. And I know Chicho is important with setting the pace, but he drives that ball out of the midfield. He finds the good passes to, maybe switch the field, finds the difficult passes. He's just, and now scoring goals. So he's just an absolute unit, an absolute boss.
He has become the engine for Real Salt Lake's midfield, and he's really taken a step. I see him as a little bit as a silent leader. And what I mean by that is not only does he obviously not show up on the stat sheet, he's not going to show up, be making the assists, but he's going to create, and he's going to set the tone in the midfield. And I think that's rubbed off on Emeka Anelli, and I think that's rubbed off on Nelson Palacio, because my doubts, earlier in the season was when Palacio came on and had that partnership with Ojeda. It struggled. It wasn't as good as we saw last night. And I think him just kind of bossing that midfield and really controlling that midfield and setting the tone in the midfield has rubbed off on Nelson. And Nelson Palacio last night also had a really, really good performance.
Also so good. And you took the words I wanted to say, but set the tone, right? Sets the tone by his play, his hustle, his aggressiveness. And I thought it was really important last night with the understanding of Palacio and Ojeda. Palacio was really understanding when to hang back, right? When Ojeda would push forward. and protect that back line. And earlier in the season, we really didn't see that. So the interchange between the two in that pivot was beautiful. It was really a thing of beauty.
That's what made Ojeda and Ruiz so successful.
Yep, 100%.
Now we're seeing the role reversed, and Ojeda is taking that role of Ruiz, and he's flourishing, man.
I mean, at this point, I think he's a mile ahead of Ruiz.
Yeah.
Even at Ruiz's best.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, man.
He's so impressive. So impressive.
I remember, I want to say it was the beginning of 2023, last season, right? I remember I was down in training and I was having a conversation with some of the people at the club, and we were having a conversation about Brian Ojeda, and this was obviously when he was still on loan with us. He wasn't officially signed yet, but they were working towards that deal. And I remember having this conversation with them, and they said that Brian Ojeda was, at that moment, Brian Ojeda was the most important person on the roster. And at first I tried to make the argument. I was like, well, there's Sava. There's young talent like Luna. But now I agree with it. I agree with it. At that moment, he was the most important person on the roster, and he's still continuing to develop and take giant strides towards being one of the best midfielders in this league.
Absolutely. And without Ojeda, all of those guys you mentioned would be completely starved of the ball.
There you go.
Right? So, pieces down that spine are just they really are the most important, right? You can have flashy dynamic wingers or flashy dynamic outside backs, but without that spine, they're nothing. And Ojeda is now the Beckerman of our spine, right?
Yeah.
So I love it. It's going to be one of these days. This is going to be one of the best signings RSL ever made.
Brian Ojeda was fantastic. Nelson Palacio was fantastic. I thought LAFC did a really good job on Luna. I thought Luna underperformed for the kind of role that he was in leading the offense, but I think that's mostly just because LAFC did a good job on shutting him down.
Yeah, and he still made a lot of magic happen.
Yeah.
They weren't completely successful, but they were definitely paying a lot of attention to Luna, and that's a symptom of Gomez and Chicho not being on the field.
I bring that up because the person they were not paying attention to and also had a really good game, Matt Crooks.
Bro, there were some moments of, indecisiveness from him, but overall, very, very good match from Crooks.
Had a couple of chances to put one away.
It was real close. It was real close, man. I think he could have done better on that header, but, that is a tough play, especially if you're not a 9. So we'll give him a little bit of grace, but would have become an RSL legend right there.
Even, the flick at the far post where he caught Lloris. It was so unfortunate that it wasn't on target, but even that shot is probably more difficult in my opinion. And he just, so close. So close.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. At the end of the day, would have been great, but also at the end of the day, it didn't lose us points by him not scoring. So, love to see it.
Love to see him finally getting comfortable. He's looking more and more and more comfortable in this league, and we're seeing better performances from Matt Crooks.
Right, and if we do bring in a higher profile 10, it'll be good for Crooks to be playing very well. So that way, maybe we don't have to rush the new guy in, and maybe it pushes Crooks to another level as well. And we have 2 really good 10s. So
competition breeds
success.
Excellence. Yep, there you go. Yeah, Matt Crooks had a good game. Anderson was Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we expect, right? It's fine. It was fine. It was a fine job, not a great job.
Yeah. Defensively, like I said, we got to give flowers to Buddy. We got to give flowers to Quinton, who were on the side of Bawanga and did a really good job of clamping down Denny Bawanga in this one, much like LAFC's defense did to Luna, right? There was probably the 2 most dangerous guys on the pitch last night was Bawanga and Luna, and I think defensively both sides did a good job on both of them.
Yeah, I think Bodie did a really good job with Bawanga. I think there was only one time he took a little nutmeg, right? But nothing came of it. Overall, though, he played him physical. He played him tough and really tried to keep Bwanga from going inside. It was
Yeah.
very helpful. So it was a good job by Bodie.
You know who else understood the assignment last night?
Hmm.
Alex Katranis.
Yeah. Does he never not understand it though?
But he definitely was attacking more last night than
Oh yeah.
and he was a catalyst. He was creating, and I loved it, and I liked seeing it from him getting up from his left back position to create. Yeah, I thought Katranis had a really, really good match as well.
Yeah, and it's always good when your left back or left wing back can really get forward and create, but you as a fan or someone watching doesn't feel like we're exposed either. That's kind of the balance. So really good job from him understanding when it was time to go and when it was time to hang back.
Early in the second half, RSL came punching. They had so many opportunities to try to get ahead. I thought for a second there RSL might have tipped LAFC and got ahead, but unfortunately they didn't. About the 60th minute, fatigue began to settle. You could see that both sides were getting tired, and the questions were who was going to sub in and make a difference in this one. Because on the bench, you have Gavin Beavers, Tommy Silva, Brody, Oviedo, Anelli, Glad, Caliscan, and Bell.
A lot of defenders, man.
A lot of defenders.
And a lot of defensive-minded center midfielders.
Yeah.
You say, I do agree that everyone looked tired. But even at that, we were just out-possessing LAFC at this point.
Yes.
So even though we looked tired, we were still dangerous.
You know, there's a saying in sports, right? When you're tired, when you're fatigued, and you got to dig in, it's going to come down to who wants it more.
Mm-hmm.
And it absolutely seemed like Real wanted it more. There was moments, man, where Luna would dribble the ball, and he would be walking around. He looked physically gassed. He looked tired.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like he had nothing left on the tank. But the second the ball would come to him, man, he would just burst into another gear, and he would create. And I think what you could see around the pitch, to multiple players, and it looked like we actually just wanted it more.
Yeah, they were tired, but they never let the fatigue cause any kind of detriment to the team. Right? They were tired, but they were still in position. It was just good stuff, man. Good stuff.
73rd minute, Andrew Brody checks in. 78th minute, Oviedo and Anelli check in. So now Anelli is sitting at the 10. You got Palacio and Ojeda sitting behind him. And then in the 90th, Justin Glad comes in. Crooks pushes up to striker, and then in the 90th, Justin Glad pushes up to striker.
Mm-hmm. Justin Glad at striker. Did you have that on your bingo card, good sir?
Absolutely not.
But part of me loves it because it's it's 1-1. There's 4 minutes left. Let's lock this down. But Justin, let's just give you a run. It almost felt fun, right?
Yeah.
It's like at the end of a game in high school, and it's like, all right, goalkeeper's going to go play striker for a minute. So it wasn't really going to be effective, but you want Justin Glad in there for corners or set pieces at the end of the game. So what made sense. We had kind of conceded that we were only going to walk away with a draw, but again, still looked dangerous. So to see a team full of midfielders and outside backs just passing the ball around LAFC like it was nothing, shocking to see and oddly entertaining. That this will be one I remember for a long time.
And then Justin Glad doing, coming in 90th minute, and within 40 seconds of checking in, just gets a yellow card, and that's the highlight of his night.
Hey, he set his tone. He set his tone.
Love to see it. I think most importantly, man, Justin Glad back. You get a couple minutes under his belt and get him ready for the weekend, because I do believe he'll star on Saturday. Yeah,
there's really no reason for him to not, unless it didn't feel good while he was out there.
Yeah.
He looked fine. And I think that's a big boost for us going into Saturday.
Huge boost going into Saturday. You get Justin Glad back. We've talked about all for a couple weeks now just how important that Glad-Vereship partnership is. And it's going to be awesome to see it back, especially against Colorado.
Yeah, massive to have, a leader back as well. without
Yeah.
Chicho, without Glad, we really need that vocal leader out there. So having him come back for a rivalry match would be just a huge win for us.
Before we get there, I think bottom line, just a massive, massive point for Real Salt Lake on the road, right? You're extremely shorthanded against one of the best teams in this league. It's a battle at the top of the table. Unfortunate that the Galaxy now sit in first.
They're
RSL
not
falls to
far away.
third,
Yeah,
but you'll take a point at BMO Stadium, especially in these circumstances, any day of the week.
100%. I'm fully okay with this. I'm a bit shocked at how we played. I'm happy that, Taylor Twellman was impressed with our performance. National game. It was a decent performance from us if you're a fan of soccer and enjoy watching it. So all in all, good time for RSL.
Let's talk about some breaking news.
Let's do it.
Breaking news from the RSL show. Well, I guess from Tom Bogert. But breaking news is that Real Salt Lake have made a signing. Real Salt Lake have signed midfielder Benji Michel, former Orlando City winger, and he will be brought in most likely as a depth piece for Real Salt Lake. But Josh, we have our first signing of the window.
Hey, I'm not mad at it. I remember him for Orlando. He was a dangerous player. A little over 100 appearances, and I want to say 15 goals for Orlando, so that's not bad. Again, a depth piece. I don't think this is a long-term starter. Not an international spot, which is great. Probably not a huge hit on the salary cap. So all in all, this is a great signing. And a bonus is I know he's been here for weeks training. We saw him training a couple weeks ago. So he's familiar with the team already. So, as soon as all the paperwork's done, he can be a contributor right away.
Yeah, from what we know is he's been with the team for a couple weeks now. We saw him score a rocket in training that day we went. Been with the team for a couple weeks. Orlando and RSL just need to finish up the paperwork. He should be available hopefully soon for this Real Salt Lake side. Kind of broke onto the scene in Orlando. Was signed as a homegrown coming out of college for Orlando City. Kind of had a crazy goal run out of nowhere. Got him enough attention to ended up on Jason Kreis's U23 national team when Kreis was in charge of that. And I think, having Kreis back probably influenced RSL going after Benji Michel.
There's no doubt it did, right? We probably said, oh, this guy's available. This guy's good. Just kind of fits our needs, right? Can play at striker. It's kind of like a Julio. Can play striker or the wing.
Yeah.
So it's depth on both sides there. So that's great. And yeah, Jason Kreis probably saw his name as a free agent or someone that was, out of contract leaving their club and said, hey guys, this is one we should go after.
He's still got a lot in the tank. And I think I love that Real Salt Lake is kind of giving him a second opportunity to kind of reflourish his career. Like I said, kind of broke onto the scene at Orlando, went over to Portugal. Didn't really work out for him in overseas, but second opportunities. Now has a chance to come back and get some minutes here in MLS. And I don't expect him to come on and be a crazy signing who's going to get you 10 goals on the year. But I do expect him to be a good piece off the bench. Just a guy who can give you some speed off the bench, is really good to in one-on-one opportunities to beat his defenders with speed, can find goals. He has a nose for goal. Has a really good IQ to be in positions where he's going to score some goals. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for the signing and a good depth piece for Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, I see it as the Chang Jackison kind of replacement, right?
Just a straight Barajas replacement.
Yep. So yeah, that's exactly what I see. I think, if we're up in a game and kind of want to go more defensive, we'd still see a Chang. But if we're chasing a game or need more goals, I fully expect to see Michel come off the bench at this point.
First signing, again, for Real Salt Lake of this window. And everything indicates that there will be more.
I hope so. I really, really hope so. If this is the only signing, it would feel very Deloy Hansen era. I don't think that's now. I do expect to see a higher profile 10. I think that's what everyone expects and what all the rumors, not rumors of a player, but, rumors of what RSL is going to sign.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an important piece. And then if we can get a piece in the back line, that would be incredible. That would be a very successful window for me.
I know. So I guess there was some stir and some some negative comments caused by the broadcast last night. I'm not sure who said it. I'm not sure what said it. But I guess there was a comment on the broadcast that said signings are on the back burner for Real Salt Lake at the moment. Which completely contradicts everything else that I've heard.
Yeah, everything else that, Crisis said on the radio, Pablo said in interviews, things you've heard from the club. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why they would be.
Everything that I've heard of this season so far, whether it's, people at the club, whether it's national media, everyone's saying that Real Salt Lake is getting ready to make some signings and some big signings.
Yeah. I don't know who gave Twellman or the Jake guy, I think that's his name, that info, but I think it was bad info.
Well, I don't even know if it was the Apple TV broadcast. It could have been the FS1 broadcast, but it was said on the broadcast that signings were on the back burner, and it caused some negative comments. I've seen them online. People were upset. But it's funny because literally in the post-game presser, Pablo Mastroeni came back. He was asked about signings, and he came back and said, well, there's going to be a domestic one coming very, very soon.
Michel.
Yep. And then he said, we're working on something, and we hope we can get something done in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
What if it's James?
That'd be sick.
Can you imagine him with these guys? I know I was pretty negative about it, last time this rumor came around, but it fits the bill right now.
Honestly, man, I think the Copa America has completely changed the perception of James Rodriguez.
Yeah, I think so too.
The performances that he had, I'm right there with you, man. I think, earlier in the year, we talked about James potentially coming. It was a rumor. And I didn't really like it, right? Because James was in a weird situation with Sao Paulo. He wasn't really performing. And then all of a sudden, Copa America rolls around. Colombia make it to the final, led by James Rodriguez. And James Rodriguez has been fantastic all Copa America.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think it's him.
No.
But after that performance, he almost revived his career there.
Yeah.
So this would be a good time to get him if we were.
A signing, a DP signing, I'm sure will happen this window.
I think so too.
I'm still convinced it will happen. And like you said, man, if we can get a defender added on to that, this would be a very, very successful window for Real Salt Lake.
100%. So we'll see. I think with Glad getting healthier, that need becomes less. And if Spencer, or just kidding, Quinton, can keep having solid performances, maybe it's less of a need, but it'll 100% be something that needs to be addressed in the next window, the winter window.
Also on the defensive front, I update on Marcelo Silva.
Yeah.
It's going a lot better than everybody thought.
Good. I still don't know if we really see him anytime soon, but if he can get back by the playoffs and get some minutes, that'd be a huge boost.
It might not be as season ending as everybody thought in the beginning. It sounds like he's making some really good progress towards coming back a lot sooner than even I anticipated. So
love to hear it. I actually kind of miss him.
Yes. Look, man, they're not signings, but it is super, super refreshing and super awesome to see Justin Gladbach. It's going to be awesome to see Hazy Larosco back into the mix. It's going to be awesome to see just the depth piece in Eric Holt back. Mm-hmm. It's going to be, it seems like we're inching closer and closer being back to full strength. And we saw how dangerous and how good this RSL team is when they are full strength.
Yeah, and I mean, Leagues Cup is a month, way less games. So by the time Leagues Cup's over, we really could be sitting pretty with, a healthy roster.
Looking around Major League Soccer, Atlanta United with a 2-2 draw against New York City FC. Columbus with the 1-1 draw against Charlotte.
Oh, they scored all their goals in LAFC.
Cincinnati losing 1-0 to Chicago. Cincinnati literally hammered down Inter Miami and then said, yeah, you know what? We're done for the season.
I mean, it's happening all over the place. So glad everyone's experiencing it.
Inter Miami with a 3-1 win over Toronto. New York Red Bulls with a 2-2 draw over Montreal. Philadelphia with a big 5-1 win over New England. Philadelphia now no longer bottom dwellers.
Yeah, look at them. They made a move. And youngest player to ever make an appearance,
yes.
Sullivan. So that's cool.
Beat out Freddie Adu and is now holds the record for the youngest guy to debut for MLS.
Let's just hope his career path is entirely different.
Man City, man. We'll see.
Yeah, but that could mean he gets shipped out on loan to Finland's third division or, actually gets to do something. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
FC Dallas with a 3-1 win over Austin FC. I don't know if you've seen the highlights, Josh, but there was a situation where Cascante hits the ball inside the box with his arm. Penalty is called. Gets in Musa's face. Starts talking smack right before the PK. Brad Stuver saves the PK. VAR gets involved and says, no, we got to retake it. Scores it. And then Musa gets in the face of Cascante, and it leads to a big fight between the two sides.
Ooh, I'll have to go check that out. I have not seen that.
It was awesome. Definitely go check it out. Don't fight. We're not condoning fights.
But it's entertaining to watch. That's why I can't wait for the hockey team.
DC United with a 3-2 comeback win over Minnesota. Aaron Herrera, our boy, getting a goal in that one.
Let's go.
Orlando with a 3-0 win over Nashville. LA Galaxy takes the top of the West with a 3-2 win over Colorado. Houston with a 1-0 win over San Jose. Seattle with a 2-0 win over St. Louis. Vancouver with a 2-1 win over Sporting KC. And LAFC and Real Salt Lake drawing 1-1. Let's talk about Colorado.
LA just beat them, so let's do it next.
I feel a lot better with just the thought of Gomez coming back, man.
And glad.
Yeah.
Because realistically, had RSL been fully healthy yesterday, we destroy LAFC.
I think even just having the Gomez available and playing against LAFC, I do think you see more goals from Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, same. So feeling pretty good. It's still going to be a tough game. It's going to be chippy. A lot's on the line, right? You want to, with Colorado losing to LA yesterday, you want to expand on that barrier between third and fourth. Well, Vancouver's in fourth now. But anyway, you want to put a bigger gap between, everyone behind you. So, yeah, I think even in our situation, the opportunity is there for a full 3 points. But we could also lose. I had to throw that in.
Even with Chicho Arango unavailable on the other side, their catalyst, Georgi Mihailovic, unavailable due to the Olympic call-up.
Thank you. Because think about it, if he wouldn't have been called up, they would have had him, and we wouldn't have had Luna.
Yes.
So in this situation, thank you.
Yes, it worked out. And look, imagine if Luna got called up while we still have to deal with Chicho and suspension and the Gomez being unavailable on Wednesday.
I would very much not like to think about that. So let's go ahead and move on.
Look, everything happens for a reason, man.
Yeah.
And in this case, it worked out fairly well for Real Salt Lake.
Yeah, absolutely did. It's like angels in the outfield. Someone was adjusting that roster because they knew this was coming.
Gomez will be back and available for Colorado. Glad will be back and available for Colorado. This is a Colorado side who have been, I think, superseding expectations, man.
Oh, 100%. I thought, Chris Armas was going to do a terrible job and flounder.
I think a lot of us did.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not. I still don't see this Colorado team ever really being that big of a threat. I think they'll always just be kind of mid. I consider them mid now, so I'm never going to give them their flowers all the way, but they have overperformed what I expected. And I think, Mihalovic's kind of resurgence and Bombito, they've kind of helped there. But, Colorado's a team that as soon as offers come for these guys, they're going to take it. And they have a lot harder time replacing those guys. So they're good for a minute.
Can I say something controversial?
Go for it.
This is their Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's their year. If they don't do it now, next year they won't have Bombito, right?
Well, I'm just talking about the Rocky Mountain Cup.
Oh, that's even worse. Yeah, so roll that back. Yeah, the Rocky Mountain Cup. It's the only thing they have the opportunity to win this year, right? I mean, they could make a run in the playoffs, but they're not going to beat a team from the Eastern Conference. So this is their trophy to win.
Yeah, this is their trophy to win after years and years and years of not being able to win the Rocky Mountain Cup. It's right there for the taking for both sides.
Yeah.
And I think that's
And
what makes this game that much more exciting this weekend, man. I don't think
absolutely.
it's been a while since we've seen both teams have as good of a season as they both have had. And I think the rivalry's back.
Yeah, it's been since like, 2010 to 2014. I feel like that's when it was the most heated. So yeah, it's been really boring. But this year they're both decent sides. I think we're a better side, but Colorado's nothing to like shrug off. So that makes it more exciting because both teams really want to win and both teams know they can win.
Colorado is one of the two teams that have beat Real Salt Lake at America First Field this year. 1-2 back in March. Then we had that crazy game where it looked like Colorado was probably going to get the best of Real Salt Lake again, but then all of a sudden they have this crazy comeback to win 5-3, one of the best games so far this year for Real Salt Lake. And now it comes down to this, man. One more game for the Rocky Mountain Cup at Colorado. So if you're going out to Denver, be there, be loud, cheer on the boys, and let's bring back the Rocky Mountain Cup.
Let's do it. As much as I say I don't care sometimes, it's nice to see our name on there over and over again. So let's just do it again. Let's not give Colorado anything to be happy about.
Well, like I said, man, this year it's different because both sides have been good. Both sides have been having a really, really good season, and it's different this year. It really is.
It is, but I still feel like we're a much better side. I think that loss at home to Colorado was one of those anomalies, right? Colorado did get pretty lucky in that game. I don't think they outplayed us in that match whatsoever. We kind of beat ourselves in that one, right? So, and then to whop them, come back with 5 goals. The energy is on our side. So Colorado's going to be pissed off. They're going to come out hard, but I think I'm not even going to say it because you guys know how I am. I'm not going to say what I think is going to happen, but I'm feeling good.
I feel good too, man. I feel good too. Like I said, I feel it really, really makes a difference when you have Gomez back, when you have Glad back. And I do think that Real Salt Lake will have much more closer to their strongest and, A team, right, if you will, starting 11 in this one. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, the only piece missing will be Chicho.
Yes. Yep.
We have plenty other firepower. We'll still be highly dangerous. So, like you said, we'll see how it goes. We'll report back next week.
Josh, any last things you want to add before we wrap this one up, man?
Not that I can say on KSL.
Uh-oh.
So, bleep Colorado.
And with that, thank you for listening to another edition of the RSL Show. Make sure to go like, subscribe, follow, do what you got to do to follow us on social media for the best RSL content here on the KSL Sports Network.